There's so many South Africans who are understandably very upset, annoyed, and even at their wits' end with the new visa laws or the, I suppose, immigration laws. What do you call it? The laws that are governing.
There are two aspects to it. There's the requirement for prospective visa applicants to appear in person, to have biometric data captured in countries that require visas to South Africa. That's the one hand, and that's a security issue. On the other hand, there's a measure that Home Affairs have brought in to try and combat child trafficking, and that is the requirement of all under 18s to carry birth certificates, and in the case of single parents, and quite a wad of supporting affidavits and documentation. So those are the two sort of issues on the table.
Right. Now, we really want to focus in on the proposed laws governing the movement of children. Yeah. And really, on the surface, David, it doesn't sound so bad. Of course, government is trying to protect children. We don't want children moving across our borders illegally. But really, under the surface, this is much more problematic than it may seem.
No, indeed. I mean, and just to sort of take you back, I mean, these were promulgated in the Government Gazette in March. There was a period of that we could put in objections. Everybody missed this. I mean, we don't read Government Gazettes every day. The Minister of Tourism at the time and the entire National Department missed this. But let me just add that there was no consultation prior to that just being slipped into the Government Gazette. These laws were then promulgated in and around June, and we were expecting at that time, because we'd been in consultations with Home Affairs around visa capacity issues in India, and there was a task team at ministerial level that was going to be set up between the former Minister of Tourism, Minister van Schalkwyk, and the former Minister of Home Affairs, Minister Pandor. They both didn't continue in their sort of capacities following the new cabinet, which came into effect at the end of May. And that whole initiative fell through. So we were hoping to actually have a proper discussion with Home Affairs in that fora. Then these regulations were simply gazetted, and we immediately met with our minister, new Minister of Tourism, Minister Hanekom, and at the same time we wrote from our large tourism associations, and we've restructured in the tourism industry. You know, we're not a loose sort of amalgam of individual companies. We have particular associations. We've got an umbrella body, the Tourism Business Council. We wrote to Minister Kigaba requesting an audience. Large CEOs of mine wrote to Minister Kigaba warning him of the dire consequences of these regulations. We got absolutely no response. We then put a large report together, commissioned by Grant Thornton, which looked at projected impacts that this would likely to have. We sent it to Minister Kigaba and Minister Hanekom. Minister Hanekom responded, no word from Minister Kigaba. He pops up in August at opening of the Cape Milner Hotel. 30 of my inbound members round on him, but in a sort of good-natured way said, you've got to speak to SATSA. Who are they, he says. Well, give David my personal email, which he then did. I wrote to him, never got a response. So this carries on, this farce of trying to actually engage with Home Affairs until in early September through Deputy Minister Chocha, and I actually got an audience with her, and a couple of colleagues of mine from various associations met with her, and that then spawned a meeting in late September with Minister Kigaba. But at none of these occasions were we able to put any substantive data or any arguments on the table. They would have no criticism, no discussion, and in essence you treated as sort of, errant and rather sort of aberrant and naughty children. After the meeting with Minister Kigaba, he then called a press conference and he announced the formation of a ministerial task team to look into the implementation of these regulations. And whilst it wasn't first prize, it was only looking at implementation and not a review of the whole regulations, we were gratified, and we've been, once again, we've been disciplined. So we were willing to work with that structure. He has to date never convened the task team. We wrote off to the Deputy Minister, 15 of my CEOs in December and some other high-level intercession. And together with our Minister of Tourism, we're able to get a very important clause inserted into the State of the Nation address, where President Zuma said, and I will quote the President, we will prioritise a review of the visa regulations to strike a balance between tourism growth and state security. That was in February. It's never been convened. And we've since then written to the President and the Deputy President to urge them to institute the review. We've continued to hold out and hope that Home Affairs may well engage us. We've worked doggedly with our Minister of Tourism, who's raised the issue in Cabinet as late as the 14th of May in his budget vote. He made reference to this, to the dire concern that around the impact that these may have, and at the same time mentioning the review and holding out the option that there may be some accommodation with Home Affairs. And we've been, as I say, disciplined. We've been trying to work with that, and even some last minute sort of approaches through to the President and the Deputy President came to naught. And it's only now, once we're really in the 11th hour, that you've seen the two associations, SATSA and ASATA, ASATA's on the outbound side, SATSA on the inbound side, are really sort of taking this issue public and actually saying, really, to Cabinet, you know, we need you guys to step up to the plate. There's one minister here who's got a particular bent, who's been non-consultative. These are draconian, they're out of step, and I can talk about that in a moment with international best practice. But, you know, essentially also taking and raising the issue to the South African public, because this is a key economic sector. It's the one sector we're winning in. We create many jobs. We've got an exemplary track record over the last 10 years of creating jobs, not only in urban but in rural areas. 1 in 7 South Africans is reliant on the sector to put food on the table every night. And what we've seen in terms of the biometrics is already a massive decimation of our markets in India and China. And the biometrics have the added sort of danger of really taking our core markets of North America and Europe down quite significantly.
Which is the last thing we want.
It's the absolute last thing. And, you know, we don't have to. People say, what's the impact likely to be? And, you know, we can, you know, we are going to have, and we've already seen, and I can quote some examples of individual horror stories, but what's far more telling is the macro picture. And we don't have to wait to actually see what the effect has been. We can take all IATA air ticketing into South Africa, and we know what that is because we can compare it on a year-on-year basis. And in June, it drops 19%. Just to give you an example, we used to get 50 school groups coming out of Argentina every year to come and play rugby in June. They have gone to England. Last year, we did $500,000 US in from South America, air ticketing into South Africa. In June this year, it's 18. It's been decimated. It's an 82% reduction. Those school groups have gone. We won't see them. So we can measure stuff like that. Where we will not be able to see the impact, and that's where it becomes insidious and incredibly onerous, is we'll never be able to measure those people who simply just look at this and they look at it as an added impediment, and they simply go to New Zealand, or they simply go to Tanzania, or they simply go to Costa Rica. We'll never measure that sort of impact.